Hi, and welcome to another edition of Right on Rangers Live, coming at you after a Texas Longhorns victory 17-7 over the Texas A&M Aggies. Never a doubt in that one, am I right? Never a doubt. In all honesty, the only reason there was 7 on the board was because of careless mistakes from Texas. The only reason this game was even remotely interesting at any point was because of mistakes that the Longhorns made. We'll get into those, but of course, we're going to celebrate the victory, go through the highlights, all the good stuff more than anything else. Hook 'em and welcome to the show. Of course, here at Right on Rangers, we cover everything sports, but we put a big emphasis on all the teams we love from the great state of Texas, including the Longhorns and especially the Longhorns during the college football season. Thank you for choosing Right on Rangers for all of your Texas Longhorns post-game content. Let's get into it. They said that the SEC was going to be a gauntlet every single week. They said that the SEC was going to eat the Longhorns up. Don't pretend like they didn't. They did. They absolutely did. And here we are. SEC championship game, going to the playoff, first year in the conference, a chance to avenge the loss to the Georgia Bulldogs earlier in the season. It's going to be fun. And we're going to preview the matchup with Georgia coming up. But this is a huge accomplishment for the program. Texas Longhorns faithful, been through some dark times in the early 2010s, even into the late 2010s. And I think we can all say Steve Sarkisian has changed the culture. I think Tom Herman was able to build it back to respectable. I think Steve Sarkisian has taken this program to another level. And you've got to give him major props for the season that the Longhorns have had this year. No, Texas hasn't been blowing out every single opponent. No, not every game is a 4 or 5 touchdown spread. But I can say this, save the Georgia game. Was there ever really a time where you didn't feel like Texas was going to win a ball game? I go back through almost every single game this season, even tonight. Even the Vanderbilt game, did you ever really feel like Vandy was going to win that game? Really? Did you ever feel like the Aggies really had a chance in this one? Honestly, they didn't. Texas has had a knack this year for dominating teams, controlling the line of scrimmage, controlling the ball game. I don't think that is at all up for debate after tonight. The haters are going to say that Texas A&M isn't really that good. They're pretty weak this year, blah, 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 yap, yap, yap. The truth is Texas just went into a very hostile environment, probably the toughest place to play in college football, Kyle Field, and made it look easy. The only reason the Aggies even had a chance in this game was because of mistakes by the Texas Longhorns. 2 terrible, terrible red zone turnovers, a blocked punt, a guy goes totally unblocked at the line of scrimmage. Those are mistakes by the Texas Longhorns that allowed Texas A&M to even have a shot in this one. I also don't really think there's a huge argument who the best team in the country is at this point, and that is the Texas Longhorns. No, I don't care about Oregon and their schedule. I don't care that Oregon is undefeated. You and I both know that if there were to be a matchup today between Oregon and Texas, we all know who'd be favored. We all know who would be favored in that game. I think the loss, Ohio State today to Michigan, tells you a lot. And I think the game this coming weekend with Oregon and Penn State is going to tell you a lot as well. But if Oregon and Texas were to play today, Oregon would be the underdog, 100%. And I don't think a lot of people that really have been watching this year think that Oregon is better than Texas, despite the 0 losses. I've told y'all I've had a lot of questions about how good the Big Ten really is, and I think that was on full display today. Do any of us really know how good the Big Ten is? You've got Ohio State losing to Michigan, a team that Texas absolutely waxed in the Big House. Wasn't even close. Talk about a game that there was never a doubt in. Never a doubt in was the Michigan game. So you've got Ohio State losing to Michigan, Oregon barely beating Ohio State at home. Come on now. I don't think anybody has Oregon over Texas at this point. Big John couldn't disagree more. Nobody is favoring Oregon over Texas. Vegas puts out a line tonight on Oregon, Texas. Texas probably by 5.5 at minimum. Texas by 5.5 if Vegas puts out a line tonight. Come on now. The only reason you say Oregon's better is because they have 0 losses. Anybody that's been watching can tell you Texas defense probably number 1 in the country. And Oregon barely beating Idaho. Y'all do know Oregon beat Idaho by 10 points. Almost lost to Wisconsin, who just got smoked by Minnesota. And you're going to tell me that Oregon is better than Texas right now? Come on. I think that we can be adults here and we can actually move past the records, because a bunch of people are just going to look at the 12-0 like it means something special. It doesn't. It's why Liberty, for example, last year isn't ranked number 1 in the country as they're going undefeated. Come on now. Oregon right now is not a better team than Texas. We're going to see, but there's no way you can tell me Vegas sets the line tonight, Oregon's the favorite. They're not. So Texas plays Georgia this weekend, and we're going to see. I know that if Texas wins this weekend, there's still going to be people hating. I told y'all last week that if Texas were to win tonight, the very first thing you're going to hear is how Texas A&M really isn't that good. Really isn't that good. I mean, that is the first thing you started seeing tonight on social media as Texas was looking like they were going to win. Texas A&M's a good football team. People raved about Marcel Reed, the quarterback, the injection into that offense that he provided. They were playing at home. A lot of people thought Texas A&M was going to want it more tonight. Everybody using the rivalry excuse. It's a rivalry game. I said last week, there is nothing that Texas A&M does better than Texas. Someone actually had the audacity to say that Marcel Reed is a better quarterback than Quinn Ewers. And look, I don't love what Quinn did in the red zone in the second half tonight. I can't really deny his brilliance in the first half. Quinn Ewers was dotting up some of his receivers tonight. The touchdown to Blue in the corner of the end zone, and he had several down the field passes that were incredible. He got sloppy at the end. This easily could have been a 31-7, a 31-0 game. This could have been classic blowout if not for those couple of mistakes by Quinn Ewers in the red zone, fumbling and throwing the interception. A little tough to fault him on the interception, the pick six, batted ball. Perhaps you can talk about the arm slot, the angle of the pass, whatever. I think ultimately it goes on Quinn as an interception. That being said, Georgia, we beat them next week. You're going to hear the same exact thing. Next week, you're going to hear how Georgia's down. If Texas wins next week, I can already tell you what the excuses are going to be, because some people are just going to keep hating. Georgia's down. They're not that good this year. They really aren't the same team as last year. They're not that good. That's what you're going to hear when Texas beats them next weekend. It's hard to beat a team twice in a season. It just is. It is hard to beat a team twice in the same season. And I think Georgia's going to be a great opponent. I am absolutely not going to sit up here and say blowout, Texas decisively wins. I felt 100% certain that Texas was going to win this ball game tonight. Again, there's nothing that Texas A&M does better than Texas. If you take the emotion out of it, the hatred, the rivalry, nobody thought Texas A&M did anything better than Texas. And it showed tonight. There was never a question of who the better team was tonight. Texas got sloppy in the second half, and it got slightly interesting. But texting with my buddies throughout the game in the second half, I never really felt there was a doubt in this one. Even when A&M was about to score, I thought for sure they were going to punch that one in to make it 17-14. Didn't really feel confident. at all that A&M was going to be able to get the ball back, drive the field again, and kick a field goal, let alone win the ball game. So we beat Georgia next week. Just be prepared for the excuses. Georgia's not that good. They're down this year. Yeah, they already lost a few times, whatever. I mean, you just can't buy a lot of respect from the Texas Longhorns haters. It is what it is. But let's just keep settling it on the field. I'm going to get into everything. I want to take a bunch of y'all's questions, comments. I know that I've been opening rant for a while now, but I'll get to your questions and comments because y'all know I like to mix it up. I'll have to sift through some of the nonsense, but I'll absolutely answer everything of substance and comment on it as well. Let me keep going here. What's up to all my people on YouTube, Facebook, X, Instagram? Appreciate all y'all. Thank you to everybody watching on TikTok. Man, it is a good day to be a Texas Longhorns fan. It is a great day to be a Texas Longhorns fan. I love the 2011 highlights that they were showing Justin Tucker streaking down the field at Kyle Field in 2011. And they get to do it again, celebrate in Kyle Field in 2024, 13 years later. Great day to be a Longhorns fan. Hook 'em horns for all my Horns faithful that are watching tonight. Let me get to some comments, things like that. Natalie, what's up? Thanksgiving was great. Even better with the Texas win a couple days later. Thoughts on Alabama making it in the playoffs or not? I think that they'll probably find a way in. I mean, look, I'm going off the cuff here. Bama, I don't know. They are a weird team this year. I don't know if they're going to be able to find a way in. I haven't looked at all the standings. I'm still on a high from beating A&M, but I'm going to have to do a little bit of a deep dive to answer all those questions. But look, A&M tonight, big win. Alabama, not sure what's going to happen with them. Don't know. I'm going to have to wait and see. I think the championship games will mean something in the whole mix of that and the whole grand scheme of that as well. Keep going here. Let's see. Big John, I don't think Oregon is better, but they're going to go off having no losses. No doubt. Oregon's going to be number one. If I was, if anybody thought I was getting it twisted, Oregon's going to be number one. My point is, I don't think there's any question who the best team in the country is, not who's the number one team in the country. I don't think anybody doubts that Texas at this point is the best team in the country. I don't know how you can question that. Yeah, we can play the Georgia loss card all we want. Georgia's lost multiple times, almost soiled the bed last night against Georgia Tech. So, yeah, Texas obviously has the loss to Georgia. What are you going to do? Put Georgia ahead of Texas right now just because they lost head-to-head? I don't think you can do that. I think we could play that game all night long, and Georgia has way less to stand on than Texas does. I think Oregon is no doubt going to be the number one team, but Texas would be favored in a matchup against Oregon. If Oregon and Texas played next weekend, Oregon would be the underdog, and it would probably be close to a touchdown spread if I had to guess. Let me keep going. Keep going here. Thoughts on, let me see here. Let me keep going. I'm going to go over to TikTok real quick. Let me keep on going. Appreciate all the follows, by the way, man. I'm going to have to scroll back quite a bit, aren't I? I know that opening rant went a while. I had a lot to say, but I'm going to try and scroll through real quick. SEC championship, Horns won't stand a chance. Whatever, man. I don't know. You don't. How do you even say Horns aren't going to stand a chance in the SEC championship game at this point? Here we are, baby. Hook 'em. Ishmael, hook 'em, baby. Appreciate you tuning in. Let me keep going. Texas Longhorns Nation, stand up. Yes, sir. Appreciate all the comments. Thanks to all the people that have followed so far. Means a lot. Appreciate the support of the channel. Thank you so much. Bro, no one cares about y'all's soft schedule. I don't even want to hear it. Like, who thinks that the soft schedule argument is even good anymore? Who even is buying into the soft schedule anymore? You're watching Ohio State lose to Cupcake Michigan. You're watching Georgia almost wet the bed against Georgia Tech. And there's still people trying to yap about the schedule. Come on now. Come up with something new. Like seriously, come up with something new. People are still going to yap about the schedule after tonight, after everything that we just watched this weekend. You're watching Ohio State lose to a 5-loss Michigan. Oh, it's a rivalry game. Uh, Whatever. It's a football game. Any given Saturday, any given Sunday, I don't want to hear it's a rivalry game, so we excuse Georgia almost losing to Georgia Tech. We excuse Ohio State losing to Michigan because it's a rivalry game. Give me a break. The soft schedule excuse is so old and sorry, I don't even want to hear it. It's just a bunch of yapping. So y'all beat one current top 20 team? No, actually, that's going to be the other argument. Oh, we haven't beat anybody. We beat multiple teams in the top 25. Unfortunately, when we whoop their butt up and down the field, they get knocked out of the top 25. Y'all see how that works, right? So we beat the teams that are in the top 25 so badly that they end up out of the top 25, just like A&M is about to have happen to them. A&M is top 20 this year. They're number 20, right? A&M's not even going to be ranked probably next week. They might be 24 or 25. Is it Texas' fault that we keep waxing teams this badly and dominating them that they get dropped out of the top 25 and we no longer can claim a top 25 victory? Come on, get real. Like, the soft schedule excuse is so old. All right, let me keep going. Appreciate all y'all. Oregon better? Nah. And again, like I said, if Vegas was setting a line tonight, Oregon would probably be about 5.5, 6 point underdog. Keep going. Yep, a lot of people still talking about weak schedules. Simple D78, appreciate that. Good point. Big Ten isn't it. Love the confidence, but the Texas record against current top 25, 1-1. Look, Georgia's a tough team. Like, Georgia is a good football team. There's no disrespect from me towards Georgia. Well coached, Kirby Smart, one of the best coaches in the country. Georgia got a ton of talent. Yes, they've dropped a couple of games this year, but there's no disrespect. It could be Georgia's night again next weekend. Texas is still in the playoff, but I want to see them avenge that loss, and I want to see them come out firing and get a win. I don't think there's any notion of looking ahead to the playoff game. I think you throw everything. You throw the kitchen sink at Georgia, trying to beat them and win an SEC championship. But anybody trying to prop up the Big Ten after this weekend, really? Oh, Oregon can barely beat Wisconsin. Oregon can barely beat Idaho. They beat Ohio State by 1. And then Ohio State is losing to Michigan, 5-loss Michigan today. Ohio State almost lost to Nebraska, 21-17. Probably should have lost to Nebraska. Like, anybody trying to prop up the Big Ten, have you really been watching? Have you really been watching this year? All right, let me keep going. It should have been 38-0. Like I said, totally agree on that one, Rudy. This game should have been 31-0 at minimum. Like, this game with A&M should not have even been close. It should have been 31-0. Maybe a 38-0, like you're saying. This game was never close. If you were actually watching from cover to cover, this game never felt like Texas was losing. You maybe thought in the fourth quarter they're about to punch it in and make it 17-14. Even then, I had full confidence Texas is going to drain enough clock to get this one to zeros with the Texas win, put this one to bed. Can we talk about Wisner? Quintrevion Wisner, what a dude. Like, Baxter goes down. You don't really know who this Wisner guy is. And, of course, Blue was getting some carries as well. Workhorse, dude. Freaking workhorse. Wisner went off tonight, almost 200 yards on the ground. And look, I thought that this year with A&M, the knock was kind of on the A&M secondary. Like, just talking with some of my buddies that are Aggies fans, the big knock, it felt like, was the A&M secondary. That was the weakness. Up front was pretty stout. Linebacking core, D-line was pretty good. For Wisner to go off for nearly 200 yards tonight, so impressive. And he has been incredible. With Texas losing multiple running backs in the offseason, you lose Baxter. I think that a lot of us had confidence that Sark was going to be able to scheme something up for the running back coming up. And, of course, the Texas O-line is stout. It's one of the best O-lines in the country. But Wisner, you got to give that guy his props. Look, obviously there were some big holes tonight for him, The line was doing a great job. But I got to say, how many times did you watch Wisner run into somebody's butt and then bounce off and get about 7 or 8 more yards? Wisner was cooking tonight. He's my player of the game. Defense would probably be, as a collective, my second player of the game. But Wisner, I think you got to give him the game ball tonight. Almost 200 yards on the ground in enemy territory. Love everything that I saw from Wisner tonight. And he's been rolling. And when you got a run game like that, it's going to be hard to beat you, especially with the defense as stout as it is. So you're eating clock, and then you've got one of, if not the best defense in the country doing work. Recipe for success. Quinn Ewers, I thought, looked really, really good early on, looked sharp early on. It got a little dicey late. Look, you haven't seen a complete performance from Quinn against a really good team from the first quarter to the fourth. I think Quinn did enough tonight. I'm not going to go off on him. I think Quinn did enough tonight. I think that the sloppy turnovers, the fumble is a great play. Quinn, not a typical runner. The interception, tough as well. I'm not going to sit here and crucify Quinn for the turnovers late. I thought he actually had a really good game. Arch Manning coming in. What a freaking beast mode run from him. Gets hit on the sideline, athletic enough to stay in bounds. I loved that Arch Manning score for the first touchdown of the game. I just thought that it set the tone for the entire night. Arch takes a shot, stays on his feet, makes a super athletic play, diving for the pylon. I thought that set the tone for the entire night. So Quinn Ewers, look, not going to get on his case tonight. Little sloppy in the second half, but by and large, thought he played well enough to win, obviously. And we'll see what he does in the SEC championship game. It's going to be a tight one. I don't think Texas is going to come out and dominate Georgia. I don't think Texas is going to get punked by any means. I think it's going to be a really close game. We'll see if Texas can avenge the loss. More on that matchup a little bit later on. Let me keep going. What's the line on Georgia, Texas? Timmy, appreciate the comment. Let me see if there's a line right now. Georgia versus Texas odds. SEC championship. Let me see if I can get something on the fly for y'all right now. I'll try and get to all y'all's comments in a little bit. Appreciate it. Georgia versus Texas. Early odds. Let's see here. Right now, it looks like SEC winner odds. Not updated quite yet here on Vegas Insider. Who I normally go to. Let me see here. Still going. Texas is a 1.5 point favorite. Texas, a 1.5 point favorite in the opening odds. Now, look, opening odds can change a lot, but as of tonight, Texas is currently a 1.5 point favorite over Georgia in the SEC championship game. Look, they create these lines to draw interest and get people to bet. Is Texas definitely a favorite against Georgia? No, I don't think so. I think it could easily be Georgia minus 1.5, but they want to get people betting. So I think a lot of people are probably going to hammer the Georgia line. I would be obviously betting with Texas. I don't think you have to question that one bit. I think it's a toss-up. I think it is truly a pick-em game next week in the SEC championship game. If Texas doesn't turn the ball over, I feel really good about their chances of winning. That's not rocket science. That's not like an overly insightful answer. But if you look at last game with Texas and Georgia, the turnovers mattered. Texas turned the ball over multiple times in their own half, gave Georgia a short field, and it ended up being a 2-possession ball game because of it. Texas defense, I thought, actually played really well. They picked off Carson Beck, 3 times? 2 or 3 times? Texas defense actually played really pretty well against Georgia. Don't let the 30 points fool you that Georgia puts up. It's really hard to work with the short field about 4 or 5 different times, like the Texas defense had to work with against Georgia. So Texas opens up as 1.5 point favorites against Georgia next weekend in the SEC championship game. Dog fan, appreciate you. Defense is legit, 100%. I think probably, and even Kirk Herbstreit said, best defense in the country. He got asked point blank, is this the best defense in the country? He said, I think so. And I would agree. I think that they have shown you consistency over the entire season. Point to the Georgia game all you want, the 30 points scored. I've explained. You're not going to pitch a shutout when your offense is turning the ball over at the 25-yard line, giving Georgia a short field. It's not going to work out well for any defense. So don't let the Georgia score fool you. The defense actually played really pretty well. And they, I think, like I said, picked off Carson Beck probably about 2 or 3 times in that game. I'm taking Georgia plus the 4.5. Georgia, no 4.5 there. Georgia, 1.5. Texas almost lost to Vandy. If you watch that game, nobody thought Vandy was winning that ball game. It was on the road. Vandy put up really, really good fights against multiple SEC teams. I don't think anybody really has a lot of disrespect for Vandy. Scrappy team, but nobody thought Texas was losing that game. Did it get somewhat interesting late, kind of like this game? Yes. Did you ever really feel like Texas was going to lose to Vandy? And if you watch, the answer is no. Let me keep going here. Hey, dude, remember how bad Texas looked against Georgia? And yet, it was only a 2-possession game. I don't know. For me, I don't look at the Georgia game and say, wow, there's no way we could beat them. Texas shot themselves in the foot multiple times, and we're still within 2 scores. With how bad they played, I think it probably could have been a lot worse. Texas made Carson Beck look terrible. So we'll see if Carson Beck looks any better against the Texas defense. Beck did not look good against Texas. So, look, be fooled by the 30-15 defeat all you want. I think anybody that's watched both teams can tell you it's probably closer to a toss-up on Saturday for the SEC championship than anything else. Appreciate the follows, by the way. The refs were bought. They didn't have anything to do with tonight. The refs, I think, were relevant. Texas, a way better team than Texas A&M. Texas-Georgia line thoughts. Again, I think this game should probably be a pick'em. I think that they're wanting people to bet Georgia. I think that's what Vegas, the angle is. If I had to read into it a little bit, I think Vegas is enticing people to bet Georgia. And look at tonight. Texas A&M was the sexy pick for all the bettors tonight. Everybody was throwing money at Texas A&M tonight, and Texas ends up covering pretty comfortably, I would say. It got a little bit dicey late, but obviously the line was about 5.5, 6. Texas covers that, winning by 10. I think a lot of people bet Texas A&M tonight, and Vegas was, I think, really, really trying to encourage that with the line that they put out. I think you got the Georgia line at 1.5 underdogs. I think a lot of people are going to bet Georgia in the points. I think Vegas is wanting people to take Georgia. Do with that what you will, but Vegas is trying to set a line that gets attention. I don't think that necessarily it's a 1.5 point underdog situation for Georgia. I think it's probably a pick'em. But Vegas wants people betting Georgia. Clearly, if you're going to be thinking about it as objectively as possible, you're taking a team like Georgia a lot of the time when you get them as underdogs. Just like with Texas, you get Texas as an underdog, you're probably taking that out of principle. I think that it's a toss-up next week. Clearly, I have a very, very good feeling the Longhorns can avenge the loss and get it done. It's tough to beat a team twice in the same season. It just is. I still think Sark has a lot in his bag of tricks that he probably hasn't brought out quite yet. I think it's going to be a great game. If Texas loses, they're still in the playoff. Not worried about that at all. It would have to take something really, really bad, I think, for Texas to lose their spot in the playoff at this point. I think Texas, though, win or lose next weekend, they'll be playing in the 12-teamer. It's really just about home game and the seeding at that point. We'll see what happens. More. Texas A&M was a 3-loss team. Yeah. Like I said, the people that are hating on Texas, they're going to basically just tell you Texas A&M was never really that good. Yeah, I don't think I'm buying it. If you watch Texas A&M, they're a quality football team. Like Texas A&M is not a bad football team. They're a quality football team. South Carolina, they ran into a really good South Carolina team. They had some great wins. The Notre Dame game, first game of the season, Tough one there. This was a good football team, right? This was a good football team. If they would have won tonight, you would have been saying how great A&M is, and that they would have been potentially in the playoff hunt with a chance to beat Georgia in an SEC championship game. So I'm not buying Texas A&M really isn't that good just because they lost to a really, really elite Texas team tonight. Let me keep going. Texas got manhandled by Georgia. Georgia barely beat Texas Tech. What's your point? My point is Texas has one loss and has cleaned up against pretty much every other opponent that was challenging or was ranked at any time this season. Really tough to go undefeated. Are we just all expecting Texas to go undefeated? That's how good we all thought they were going into this year, right? Right? We all thought Texas was going to go undefeated this year. Is that what we're saying? By hating on the one Texas loss, we all thought Texas was just going to go undefeated, right? Well, if you were here earlier when I first started the show, let me remind you how much noise was made about how tough of a time Texas was going to have in the SEC. So they lose to Georgia one time. Georgia, right? The team that's won multiple national championships in the past 5 years. They lose to Georgia one time, and the sky is falling. Nobody thought Texas was going undefeated this year. So to go the other direction and pretend like that was this devastating loss that really reveals that Texas isn't that good, I don't get that angle at all. But whatever works for you. Whatever works for you. Hook them, though. All my people in the chat, Texas Longhorns fans, hook them. Let me see. You were shaky. Blue, what's up, man? Thanks for tuning in. Yeah, I got to say, I'm not going to get on Quinn too much. I think that Quinn Ewers definitely looked a little uneven in the second half. The fumble, I think, is a really good play by the linebacker. Was that a D lineman chasing him down? That was a really good play by the defender coming from behind. I don't know if I put the fumble on Quinn. He's not a runner. They tried to run him a little bit tonight. I don't know how much I love that. You got the high ankle sprain, and he was using his legs multiple times tonight, which, look, I kind of love to see, but at the same time, it's not his strength. I'm not gonna get on him for the fumble. It's a great play by the Aggie defender. The tip ball, fluky as well. I can't say Quinn played a terrible game. I thought he looked really good in the second half. I would have loved to have seen him go into closer mode and not turn the ball over at all in this game. It wasn't meant to be. I don't think you can walk away from this game thinking that Quinn Ewers didn't have a good game. I think he had a great game overall. He had a couple of fluky turnovers at the end. Overall, I thought he had a really solid game tonight. Let me keep on going. Wrong color orange. Nah. Let me show y'all, just to be clear here, right? Y'all see that flag, right? Come on now. Come on now. And we all know there's only one UT. There's only one UT. Don't let anybody try and tell you Tennessee is the original UT. I don't care that they had the name first. Anybody that knows college sports, this is the real UT right here. Don't get it twisted. Let me keep on going. Appreciate all the follows. Thank you so much. It's a great night to be a Longhorns fan. Appreciate all y'all. Let me keep going here, trying to sift through YouTube. I haven't forgotten about you guys either. I'm trying to get to everybody's comments if I can. Yep. Here we go. I'm trying to weed through as much as I can. Some trolls in there, but a lot of good stuff. Appreciate all the Longhorns fans. Longhorns Nation, stand up. Appreciate all y'all. What excuses did you have first game? Don't know what that's in reference to. There was no excuses. Texas played really bad against Georgia. They turned the ball over. You're not going to win a lot of games that way. Ewers did not look good. What is Texas going to say when Georgia dog walks them? If Georgia dog walks Texas, Texas is going to say, see you in the playoff. I mean, come on now. Texas loses to Georgia, they're going to say, see you in the playoff. Texas is in the playoffs. So anybody trying to make next week into something more than it is, get real. So if Texas loses next weekend, see you in the playoffs. Maybe they rematch a third time. I mean, I don't think there's any way Texas gets knocked out of playoff contention at this point. I don't think Texas losing in an SEC championship to Georgia, I don't think that's going to disqualify them. There are teams that are going to make the playoff with way worse losses than Texas losing to Georgia twice. It's not ideal. It doesn't look good, but Texas is going to be in the playoff regardless of the outcome next week. Let me keep going. Oscar, let's go Horns. Appreciate it. Appreciate it. Let me keep going. Let's see. I just don't think there's any elite teams, handful of very good teams, but no one feels dominant. I think Texas is basically the closest thing to dominant that you've got. I think that Oregon looks really good. Obviously, they haven't lost, but I think Texas is probably the closest thing to dominant. But we all know how football goes. It's a what have you done for me lately sport. Many are. Right now, Texas looks great. They finished the season really strong, beat all the teams after Georgia pretty handedly. Yeah, the Vandy game was close for a second, but again, nobody thought Vandy was winning that game. Really, Texas hasn't looked at all like they're going to drop a game at really any point since the Georgia game, in my opinion. Yeah, they had a couple of close-ish games, but no game really felt ever like out of hand. Let me put it to you this way. They were never down 17-0 or whatever Georgia was down to Georgia Tech. Did you ever see Texas beyond the Georgia game go down 17-0? No, you didn't. So I think Texas is the closest thing you got to dominant. Oscar, let's beat Georgia. Agreed. Appreciate it. Agreed. Michael, you can't win turning the ball over. That's going to be pivotal against Georgia. Appreciate all the follows. Let's see. Chosen G, Dogs win by 2 scores. Look, it's hard to beat a team twice. It's really hard to beat a team twice in the same season, especially a well-coached team like Steve Sarkisian's Longhorns. It's going to be tough. I don't think Texas is getting dog walked. I don't think Texas is getting blown out. I think it'll be a pretty close game. And my prediction would be close game. Texas probably pulls away late. That's my prediction right now. I'm going to go probably a little bit later in the show on a score prediction, but right now it feels like a close game with Texas punching it in late, probably to win by 2 possessions, something like that. Let me keep going here. Texas fan here. A&M lost that game when they didn't get the 3. Yeah, look, A&M, they could have kicked the field goal 17-10. They could have kicked the field goal. And I don't think the field goal was the right move for A&M. You had the ball at the 1-yard line. The offense really hadn't looked great all game long. I think it was 100% the right decision. I have a problem with the play call. Why do you call timeout to run an off-tackle play? You didn't have anything more exotic with the game on the line? Like, think about the A&M play in overtime that they dialed up against Auburn. Like, that was a great play. It should have been a game that they ended up winning. Like, that should have been a 2-point conversion and overtime continues. I was shocked to see they call timeout and go for it, and they dial up an off-tackle run. That made no sense to me. I think it was 100% the right choice, though, to go for the touchdown there. You're on the 1-yard line. Your offense has not looked really, really good and hasn't moved in chunks all game. The chances of A&M driving the length of the field to score a touchdown after giving the ball back to Texas, not good. Not good. We keep going. I heard a lot of excuses from your fan base when we beat you guys pretty bad in Texas. I mean, the excuses, I don't know. We're probably playing semantics. Texas didn't play well. I don't know what the excuse would be. They turned the ball over, they didn't play well, and they lost. That is the story of the Georgia game. So it maybe call that excuses. That's just what happened. Texas turned the ball over, and they did not win the football game. And when you turn the ball over and you don't win the turnover battle, and when you turn the ball over in your own end consistently, I think it happened 2 or 3 times with Texas against Georgia, you're not going to win games. Call that excuses if you want. I really don't know that I would call it that. We're playing semantics at some point, but I think Texas just didn't play well. Georgia was the better team in that game, and Texas didn't take care of the football. Keep going. More comments here. How do I figure Texas is going to beat Georgia after looking at the first game? Georgia's an inconsistent team. Georgia looks really good one week, really bad another week. It's hard to beat a team twice. Texas is definitely a team that shut down Georgia pretty well, I think, offensively. Look, if you want to just box score poach, look at the 30 points and think Georgia's offense killed it, I disagree. I think Carson Beck played terrible against Texas. He's going to have to be a lot better. They picked him off 2 or 3 times. Like, you're not going to sit there and tell me the Georgia offense ran up and down the field on Texas. They didn't. Georgia won. The defense of Georgia, really, really stout. They won the battle up front. They beat the Texas O-line, and it's a big reason why they came away with the win. But I don't think that you can just look at that one game in a vacuum and say, well, it was 30-15, so it's probably going to be that again next time. I think what you've seen from Georgia is any given week, they look really good or not really good, kind of average. I think Texas has had the one hiccup, but has looked pretty consistent. If you don't think Texas is elite, fine. We'll drop the word elite. Texas has looked really good week in and week out, save the Georgia game. Texas has been a consistent team, and they're a really well-coached team, and they have a lot of really good players. It's not out of left field to say that they win the ball game on Saturday. I don't think that it's a lock. I don't think that it's going to be money in the bank. I do think Texas has a really good shot to win. And of course, I think Texas is elite. Of course, I think Texas is elite. But a lot of people want to knock the schedule. It's a tired excuse. Speaking of excuses, I'm not buying it. You're seeing a lot of teams struggle against worse teams than what Texas has struggled against. Texas struggled against Georgia. You got Ohio State struggling against a 5-loss Michigan. And don't give me any of that BS rivalry game. It's football. It's any given Saturday. I don't care about the rivalry game. Don't excuse Ohio State. Don't excuse a lot of these teams looking bad in rivalry games. It's football. Any given Saturday, any team can win from week to week. So I'm not buying the rivalry excuse. Texas looked pretty dominant in a rivalry game tonight. So let's not make excuses for Ohio State, nor should we make excuses for Georgia almost losing to Georgia Tech. They should have lost to Georgia Tech. Let me keep going here. Bama in, Miami out. I could see that. Could be. Ohio State ranking, I'm going to say not any lower than 10. I think they'll probably be like 8, 9, but we'll see. Look, they're still in. Like, I don't think that you're kicking out Ohio State. They're in. I don't think Ohio State is going to drop out. Could be wrong, but I think that a lot of people on the committee are going to say rivalry game, 2 losses, have looked pretty good in some of their games. So I don't know if Ohio State's going to get dropped out of the playoff. That would be a little extreme. Not playing in the Big Ten championship, I think hurts them. But I think that they're going to find a way into the playoff. Let me keep going here. Georgia about to do unthinkable things to Texas again. Yeah. We'll see. We'll see on Saturday. Our rival is OU, who we thrashed. Yeah, look, OU feels like less of a rivalry to me. Can we talk about that, Longhorns fans? All my Longhorns fans, pour in on this one. OU feels a little bit less of a rivalry to me than A&M. I've always, and I think it's because of just my background growing up, having buddies that were Aggies fans. One of my really good friends is a Sooners fan. Only one. I've got a ton of Aggies friends. And so that rivalry was always bigger to me growing up. It feels better beating the Aggies than it does the Sooners. Don't get me wrong. Don't like the Sooners. Love when we beat them. But I got to be honest, personally for me, A&M's the bigger rivalry. Now, OU, Texas is probably the more competitive rivalry if you want to look at the numbers. But I think that the A&M rivalry means a little more to me personally. But I'm sure it's different for every Longhorns fan. Like, some Longhorns fans, y'all probably have the same exact scenario as me, except you had a bunch of OU fans growing up. I don't know. But to me, A&M is the bigger rivalry. When they did away with the A&M game, it was a little depressing to me, honestly. I love, as a sports fan, the adrenaline of, are we going to win? Are we going to lose? I don't know. It could be one way. It could be another way. I love the uncertainty with the rivalry games because you think that Texas should have just manhandled A&M tonight. Like, objectively, there was nothing A&M did coming into this game that was better than Texas, better on offense, better on defense, better coaching. Look, all those things were true about Texas coming into this game. But because it's a rivalry, you psych yourself out. You get in your feelings and you're not sure. The uncertainty creeps in. But I'll tell you what, I think that the A&M game, having that back for the sport of college football is huge. It's going to be a lot of fun when it comes back to Austin next year. Really, really excited about that. Really, really excited about that one. Let me keep going here. Texas was dominant. Reed, totally 100%. Both rivalry games. Absolutely. Let me keep going here. Goodbye to A&M. Yes, sir. Lil bro has 100% bias. Did the shirt give you away or did the hat give you away? Of course I'm biased. Of course I'm biased. If I wanted to be unbiased, I don't think I would be wearing what I'm wearing right now. I cover all the teams I love from the great state of Texas. There's no apologies for that or hiding that. So, yeah, I think that's a Captain Obvious comment. Let me keep going here. Let's see. Let's go beat Georgia. Yes, sir. Hook 'em. A lot of hook 'em in the chat. Love it. Texas is the only dominant team. Jaime, couldn't agree more. I think Oregon's a little overrated. How good is the Big Ten? I think the championship, the Big Ten championship, is going to tell you something, but I don't know how good the Big Ten is. SEC, I think most people agree, is a pretty competitive conference. I don't know how good the Big Ten is right now. Let me keep going. Did I go to UT? No, I did not go to UT. A lot of family who are Longhorns fans, a couple of family members that attended the university. Definitely love the Longhorns, grew up on them as a kid, all the way till now. So no, did not attend the university myself, but was raised a Longhorn fan. A lot of Longhorns fans in the family and some graduates as well. Keep going here. Let me see what I got. Y'all have gotten worse since the loss to Georgia. I don't even know how you would make that conclusion, but go for it. UT Van from Pennsylvania. Luke, appreciate you if you're still watching. Thanks for tuning in. Hook 'em. Texas hasn't lost to the bad teams. Your heroes can't say the same. Look, that is my argument. You're seeing a lot of teams in the top 10 losing to bad football teams. Texas hasn't lost to a bad football team. Georgia's a really good football team. Really good football team. Did they look shaky against Georgia Tech? Yes. At any moment, though, can they look like a really, really elite team? 100%. My argument, Georgia has not been consistent this year. Texas has. Tough to beat a team twice. I think there's a lot of reasons you like Texas this weekend. They obviously could drop another game to Georgia. I think, like I said, if Texas loses this weekend, you say, see you in the playoff. I don't think there's any way the committee's kicking Texas out of the playoff, even with the loss. SEC is a home game for UGA. Their fans have bought up all the tickets already, so good luck. I don't think that's how that works. I'm pretty sure that they allot tickets appropriately to each team. And a lot of people are going to put those on the resale market. So, look, I'll believe it when I see it on the TV and there's just this epic sea of red and no orange at all. But if I had to guess, I think Longhorns are going to travel pretty well. I would expect Georgia to be in the majority in terms of the fans in the stands, but Longhorns are going to travel pretty well. I don't really have a doubt about that. Texas won't win. The offense struggles in the red zone. I think that the Georgia offense has not really looked all that great either. And so, look, you can point to the red zone struggles all you want, but the reality is Texas does enough to win the game most times, save the Georgia game. Texas is a team that's just always doing just enough. They control the clock. They've got the best defense in the country. They've got an elite running game. They got punked up front. Georgia punked them up front. Like the Texas O-line, you got to think the Texas O-line is going to come out firing next weekend. They got punked up front. They did. The Georgia defensive line came to play in Austin. And so I got to think that there's some extra motivation for the Texas offensive line to come with a vengeance to get back on track and avenge that loss. We keep going. Georgia going to win that SEC championship. Texas trash and can't handle the big spotlight. Yeah, like tonight, right? Everybody watching tonight, they really didn't handle the spotlight tonight, did they? I mean, come on now. They can't handle the spotlight. Everybody was watching tonight. Let's get real. This was for a chance to play for the SEC championship tonight. They can't handle the spotlight, please. Come on now. Almost every Texas game was like on national TV, ABC this year. Really, we really going to play that game? They can't handle the spotlight? Come on now. Let me keep going. Does Ohio State still get in? Probably. The brand, I don't think committee's going to leave them out. Maybe. I don't know. We'll keep going. Genty for the Heisman. Yeah, I think Travis Hunter's probably got that one on lock. Look, he's Ohtani, basically. If you're talking baseball terms, the guy's Ohtani. Elite defender, elite offensive player. I just don't think anything that the Boise State running back is going to do to take it away from him at this point. I think Travis Hunter's got the Heisman in the bank at this point. Let me keep going. Vandy was oranged out. Yeah, there were a lot. Texas travels well. Like anybody that's trying to tell you like nobody's going to show up to the SEC championship game, you're going to see some orange. Like, are they going to outnumber the red? No. The game in Atlanta, it's tough. I wish that they would consider alternate sites. It seems like every single SEC championship game, Georgia's in it, a testament to their program. Would be nice if they moved around the SEC championship game from time to time. Even when they were playing Bama, right? It's still in Georgia, in Atlanta. That's tough. But look, it is what it is. It's not an excuse. It's just kind of a nitpicky little thing to complain about. Texas fans are going to show up to that game. There's plenty of Texas fans all around the country. First SEC championship. There's going to be people that want to be there 100%. Me keep going. Georgia defense trash. 8 overtime. Georgia Tech. Look, I'm not going to sit here and pretend like Georgia is this insurmountable foe. They're not. Georgia can be beat. Georgia Tech almost beat them, right? Georgia got beat by multiple, in my opinion, inferior teams. You look at the Georgia schedule, they almost got beat by Kentucky. Like, I can go down the Georgia schedule and just go through their games, close ones that they almost lost. Like, you look at the Kentucky game, 13-12, Kentucky could have won that football game. Like, Mississippi State was close with Georgia. I mean, look, you had Georgia Tech, obviously, Ole Miss beating them 28-10. You had, of course, Bama beating Georgia. These aren't great losses. And there's some games that they've won that they probably should have lost. So for me, I don't sit around here and pretend like Georgia is going to dog walk Texas, blow them out of the water. I don't think Texas is going to do the same. I don't think that it's going to be a blowout. My prediction right now, I think it's a close game and Texas pulls away late. Good game, not a bad game. We'll see y'all next year. Good luck. Appreciate that. Good game. All my Aggies fans that are watching, good game. We'll see y'all in Austin. Let's see. I do feel the same way. Georgia almost lost to Georgia State. Texas has this. I do feel that way. I feel like Texas is going to come back, get a win, avenge the loss. Sark has some tricks up his sleeve. You know that they haven't dialed up everything in that elaborate playbook that Steve Sarkisian has. So I feel pretty good about the Longhorns' chances. I don't think any Longhorns fan should go into the game with a negative attitude or spirit. Go into the game. This is anybody's for the taking. And if Texas loses, you kind of have almost that house money mentality, in my opinion, going into this game. You know that you're in the playoffs. I don't think there's any way Texas gets left out of the playoff. You go in with the vengeance perspective, but you also play a little loose and you play free, knowing that you're going to be in the playoff regardless. So for me, I think that if you're a Texas fan, you go into this game feeling really good about the opportunity to win an SEC championship, but an opportunity to win a championship regardless of the outcome of this one. Texas will beat UGA second time around. That's from a Tennessee fan. There you go. There you go. You heard it. Not just the biased Longhorns fan here. Appreciate the comment. Thanks, bud. Would Georgia get in with a loss? I think Georgia is out with a loss. Don't y'all? Dylan, really good question. Really good comment. I think Georgia's out with a loss. I don't think that they're going to be able to survive losing to Texas and still getting in. That's just my prediction. It probably depends. It probably depends on what the loss looks like. So if Georgia loses, it probably depends on how bad they lose. So for me, I think they're probably out if they lose, but it's going to be close. They're sitting at number 7 right now. You figure they jump up a little bit. It's going to be really close. Now, look, I'm not taking that to the bank, but I think it depends on the loss. So if Texas comes in and it's a 2-3 score game and Georgia just looks like they are getting totally manhandled, I could see them dropping out of the playoff. That would be loss number 3, correct? 3 losses with some of the other teams that only have 2. There's the argument, are you going to hold the conference championship loss against them? I think you got to look at the full body of work. They've looked pretty bad on given Saturdays. I'm not trying to be a hater. I could see Georgia still getting in. I think it's going to be really, really close if they lose. Appreciate the follows, by the way. Thank you to everybody that's following the channel, whether you're on YouTube, X, Instagram, Facebook, or TikTok. Thank you for all the follows. Thanks for supporting the channel and the account. Appreciate you guys. I could see it being in Nashville in 2027 once the Titans' new stadium is built. Steven, appreciate the comment. I'm for variety. Like, the Big 12, they always had the championship at Cowboy Stadium. I'm all for moving it around. I think that's the more fair way to do it. Obviously, I think there should be some flexibility. So I think you should be able to move the game to different locations based on the 2 teams. Like, you want to make it easy for the fans to get there. I think you could absolutely have the game at a neutral site, a place, an NFL stadium that is close or maybe equidistant to each team. Don't know what exactly that would look like. I think Nashville would be a great location. Maybe Superdome. I know that's probably a little closer to Texas, obviously, than Georgia. But like New Orleans Superdome, I think that would be great. It'd be nice to be able to move it around based on the 2 teams to try and give each side an equal shot to be able to attend the game. Like, you can drive if you're a Georgia fan living in Georgia to this game. You're not probably going to drive from Austin or from Texas to Georgia for this game. So I do think that NCAA, SEC could do better. I'm sure they're tied up with the stadium, whatever it's called, Mercedes-Benz. I don't know what it's called at this point. Who cares? But I'm sure they have some kind of contract with that stadium. But when it's over, I would love to see them go to some kind of rotation or flex situation based on the 2 teams playing. Yeah, Kentucky ran them, and we smoke Kentucky. Agreed. Kentucky almost beat Georgia. Probably should have beat Georgia. Like, Georgia should have lost a number of times. This could easily be a 4-loss Georgia team. Look, they've survived and advanced, and that's really the name of the game at the end of the season. Survive and advance. Just win, baby. That's what I say for Texas. Georgia, they find ways to win. If they lose, though, it's going to be tough. I don't know if a 3-loss Georgia is going to be able to stay in the playoff. It's going to be really close. Let me keep going here. Appreciate all y'all. Thank you for the follows. If they lose and don't let them in, you will send the end. Yeah, going to need a little more clarification on that comment. My bad if I'm not getting you. Texas wanted to join the SEC, and now they want to change the rules. You're going to have to explain that comment a little bit more. How far do I think Ohio State falls in the rankings? Probably, I would think 8 or 9. That would be my guess. 8 or 9, something like that. I don't think that they're going to drop into double digits. Where is IU ranked? They're probably up at 7 or 8, don't you think? I would think that they move up a couple. I think that the Big Ten championship, Oregon and Indiana, that's going to show us a lot. It's going to tell us a lot about the Big Ten. Look, if you see Indiana manhandle Oregon, I mean, that is pretty chaotic. That would be a crazy, crazy outcome. What if Indiana goes in and just manhandles Oregon? I mean, that would be a total. I have no idea what to think about the Big Ten. Even if Indiana wins that game, I don't know what to think about the Big Ten anymore. If Indiana wins, I really don't have a great feeling that the Big Ten is that competitive. So I think any other outcome than Oregon really, really looking good should make everybody question how big the Big Ten is. Indiana gets the dub in the Big Ten championship game. I really, really don't know how you sit there and proclaim that the Big Ten is a super, super competitive conference this year. That's just me. Keep going here. Penn State gets the title shot. That's right. My bad on that one. Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you. Look, hard to keep track of everything, and I know that there were some crazy situations where certain teams could get in. That's right. Penn State, I think, has the tiebreaker. We'll see. Look, then how about this? Sub out Indiana, put in Penn State. If Penn State beats Oregon, same thing, right? Total chaos. I mean, how good is the Big Ten if Oregon doesn't do anything else than beat Penn State by a couple of scores? How good is the Big Ten really? I don't know. Let me keep going. I think a loss in the championship shouldn't hurt you if you're already in the bracket beforehand. I kind of tend to agree with that. I think it's BS that you don't play in a championship game and somehow it works out better for you than losing in a championship game. I hope that the voters take that into consideration. If Georgia loses to Texas, I think they should be in over Ohio State. I don't think Ohio State should be rewarded for losing to Michigan and not going to a Big Ten championship. So my preference would be Georgia loses, they're in. I don't think that you should reward Ohio State for sitting on the couch next weekend. I think if Georgia loses, you put them in over Ohio State for sure. Let me keep going. Reed, appreciate that. Yes, sir. Rangers, Horns. Look, I grew up in the DFW area. Pretty much any Dallas-Fort Worth team I'm on board with. For me, it's Rangers, it's Longhorns, it's Cowboys, and it's Mavs. That's what we got. We cover a little bit of everything on the channel. Obviously, this is football season, so a lot more football than anything else. Appreciate all y'all tuning in. Let's keep on enjoying this one. Let's keep on enjoying this one. This is a great night to be a Longhorns fan. You got to appreciate nights like tonight. And hey, look, everybody else crying about the rivalry games, how tough they are. Texas goes in to Kyle Field, the toughest place to play, in my opinion. Look, and I don't like to admit that. I wish that it was Texas. I wish it was DKR. I really do believe that Kyle Field is the toughest place to play in the sport. That place is freaking rocking. Every single home game, I got to give the fans credit there. They're incredible. I love, though, that the defense, the running game, everything traveled tonight. Look, I think maybe there's an argument Texas looked a little shaky, coming out the gate, but that defense traveled. I told y'all they would. The defense has traveled well this year on the road. That is what you need to win a championship. You need a defense that can go on the road, that can go to a neutral site, doesn't have the home crowd behind them, and still performs at a very, very elite level. Keep going here. What if Texas loses? I think y'all be in, but how far do you drop? I see Texas probably ending up 9-10 seed with a loss. I think that they're going to be, number 2 after this weekend? I don't think they're going to drop any further than 9. I really don't think you're going to see them fall any further than the 9 spot. They'll probably be like maybe 8 or 9 if I really was just trying to sit back and think about it. 8 or 9 would be my guess if they lose, and they're still in. So again, Texas, you don't have a lot to lose going into this weekend. You want to avenge the loss, and I don't think Texas is going to be any less hungry knowing that they're getting in the playoff, win or lose. But I do think that you go in playing free. I don't think that you have that pressure. Hey, we lose, we go home. Play unburdened, play free, and play with that fire to avenge the ugliest game of the year. I think you got to feel great if you're Texas. This is a great position for them to be in. And if they lose, they still got a shot for a natty. And maybe they end up playing Georgia a third time. Wouldn't that be something? They play Georgia 3 times in the same season. Who knows? Keep going here. Astros, Texans, Horns. I'll forgive you on the Astros. Texans, I actually don't mind the Texans. Like, I'll be honest, the Rangers-Astros rivalry, anything from Houston is getting under my skin a little bit these days, but I actually really don't mind the Texans that much. I'm not going to lie. But for me, Rangers, Cowboys, Longhorns, Dallas Mavericks. Arch should start. I don't know about that. I do not know about that. Look, I love what they did with Arch tonight. Like, that is a perfect role for him right now. You got the threat for him to throw. You've got the threat for him to run, hand it off. Like, just be the RPO specialist. I love what they did with Arch tonight. I thought it was the perfect change of pace, and it paid dividends with the Horns getting their first score. Like I said, that Arch Manning touchdown set the tone for the entire game, in my opinion. Arch, tough run, bounces off a defender, athletic play, gets the pylon. I think it set the tone for the entire game. Texas Sports King, appreciate the comment. Yes, Texas, excellence on the cap indeed. Great day to be a Longhorns fan. Arch is going to be great next year. Can we put a bow on the Arch should start, though? Like, I don't think that is going to be a happening thing. I told y'all I thought it was going to be short-lived. Yeah, I know that Arch came in during the Georgia game a little bit. I don't think Arch is going to be a starter at any point this year, save a Quinn Ewers injury. I don't think any point this year he is going to be a starter. I think this change of pace RPO specialist is the perfect role for him. And I think what you saw tonight was Sark setting it up a little bit. What did you see Arch do when he came in tonight? It was basically read option. Now what you do is you get that on tape. Georgia, they see the read option. Now if you're Sark, you mix in more of the pass option. You make the other teams think that they're just using Arch as a read option guy. Now you get a little more exotic. You do the true RPO, and you're going to catch some teams off guard. I think tonight was a total setup for more with Arch later on. I don't think they're going to strictly use Arch either handing off or running. I think you are going to see Arch make some big-time passes when he comes in those moments. I think tonight was totally set it up for something bigger down the road. But I don't think there's any quarterback controversy. Kelly Hookham, appreciate the comment. Thanks for tuning in. Not keeping an eye on anything else college football-wise tonight. I just got ESPN up here. BYU up 21-10 on Houston right now. Look, BYU, I don't know how they're going to make it in. Do they still have a shot? I don't know. Notre Dame won 49-35. Look, Notre Dame has turned it on a little bit of late. I don't have a lot of confidence in them in the playoff, but we'll see what happens. Anything can happen when you just get into the playoffs. Like, all it takes is just getting in. You get hot. Any team can win on any given Saturday. It's how it goes. So everybody making excuses about rivalry games. Oh, it's a rivalry game. It makes sense that Georgia almost lost. What? It's any given Saturday, man. Like, A&M could have won this game. They didn't because Texas is a better team. So anybody making excuses for Ohio State or for Georgia, just don't get that. Let me keep going here. Quinn will be fine. Riley, I agree. I think Quinn played a really solid game tonight. The turnovers to me were fluky. He had a couple of passes I felt like he telegraphed a little bit, easily could have had an interception or two more. That being said, I think by and large, Quinn was solid tonight. The turnovers at the end of the game were fluky. The fumble, really good play from behind from the Aggie defender. A tip ball is always a fluky INT. I don't really think Quinn had a terrible game tonight. There's some Quinn Ewers haters out there. Look, I'm on the record saying I would have preferred that they would have just gone with Arch this year. But look, I got to eat my words a little bit. I think Quinn was the right move, and it's worked out great. Arch is going to be a great quarterback next year. So I got to eat crow a little bit. I said go with Arch last offseason. Sark went with Quinn. Quinn decides to stick around. He's a winner. Like, what is he, 19-3 in his time as a Longhorn? The guy's a winner. You can't take that away from him. Does IU sneak into a home game for round one? Maybe. Maybe. I don't know what's going to happen. I think next weekend is going to determine a lot. Look, crazy enough, some of y'all know I live in Las Vegas. Crazy enough, UNLV, the University of Nevada, Las Vegas, the Running Rebels, could sneak into the playoff. Like, I think next weekend is just going to tell you a heck of a lot. We'll see what happens. There could be some craziness still yet to come. I don't know how much time you want to invest in predicting who's going to land where in the playoff bracket. I think there's still more mayhem to come. I don't think that the Georgia-Texas game really has a ton of drama left in it. I think each team is probably going to make its way into the playoff. It'll be close for Georgia if they lose. Texas is in, I think, regardless. But I think that there are a lot of other conference championship games that are more juicy in terms of drama than this coming weekend. Now, I think in terms of skill and just in terms of juggernauts and big brands facing off, yeah, of course you love Texas versus Georgia. With that being said, I think in terms of like playoff drama, this isn't necessarily the most drama-filled game if you're thinking about who's going to make the playoff, who's not. Cole, appreciate the comment. Agreed, Texas defense. They've been saving the Longhorns. The defense is the anchor of this program. The offense does just enough to win football games. The defense has won us football games this year time and time again. I've got to give the defense as a unit props. You had multiple guys flying around tonight. Look, I was so glad that they did not give Mukuba the targeting. I thought that they were going to call targeting on Mukuba, but I'm so glad that they didn't. I thought by the letter of the law, that was targeting. That was in the first half. I thought that they were going to get Mukuba on the targeting for sure there. I thought that was an amazing, incredible hit. That was a freaking huge hit from Mukuba there. And I really did not want to see him get ejected. I'm glad they didn't. I thought letter of the law, though, he probably was going to get the targeting penalty. I hate the targeting penalty, by the way. I wish that they would reevaluate it. I think that there are dirty plays, and then I think there are plays where you inadvertently make contact with the helmet, and that's football. There are dirty plays, though, where there's straight up one guy trying to injure somebody else. Yeah, you got to eliminate that out of the game. But when a runner is putting their head down and there happens to be helmet-to-helmet contact, I hate the targeting rule, and I think that it overly, wrongfully penalizes teams, and it discourages doing the thing that defenders are all taught to do, which is come up, make plays, lower the shoulder, hit hard. The contact to the head, neck area can be totally inadvertent at times with this targeting rule. Really wish they would reevaluate it. Don't know if they're going to, but I'm glad Mukuba did not get ejected. I thought he was going to. Letter of the law, I felt like there was a really good argument for him to be. But glad that it worked out in the Longhorns' favor. Let me go to the defense, though. So we had clearly a couple of turnovers tonight, right? We had Reed losing a fumble. We had, let's see, Simmons had a nice night, 5 total tackles. Hill Jr. was flying around tonight. 5 total tackles for him as well. Oh, my goodness. We had a couple of sacks on the night. Moore had a nice sack there at the end of the game. Moore had a couple of tackles for losses. A lot of great play. Michael Taft with the interception. Loved it. A lot of good stuff from the defense tonight. Like, we could go on and on and on. Defense played really, really well. Thought they did a great job containing Reed. They clearly had a game plan to force him to his right, and it worked tonight. He was doing that a lot, rolling out right, and they clearly saw something on film, schemed it up, and it went really, really well for them. Reed was never really able to truly get going. You didn't see a lot of big-time runs from him. He went for 60 yards tonight, 4.3 yards a carry, but I thought they really held Reed in check, really got nothing going in the passing game at any moment. So, look, defense, good stuff from them. They've been carrying the team all season long. Oregon for Natty, nah, can't see it. Ewers is going to be our downfall. I don't know if I really agree that Ewers is holding the team back. I do think that the way Sark has drawn this up, hear me out on this. I think that Sark's offense can be very dink and dunk at times. And what you see is dink and dunk. But then you see that down the field threat. You see that down the field play. Sark does a great job at lulling defenses to sleep, playing the short game, and then hitting you on a deep ball, hitting you on a big play. I think it's the nature of the offense. It's something I've had to learn because at the beginning of the season, I really kind of railed on Quinn. Like, why is he always checking down? Like, it's check down Ewers all the time. That's what I felt like at the beginning of the year. I think what I've learned from watching the offense is a lot of it is a setup. A lot of it is Sark scheming up the short passes to hit the wide open deep ball. And you saw Texas get a couple of pretty good looks down the field. A big part of that is setting up the short game, setting up the screens, setting up the checkdowns and the short passes to hit the deep ball later. I really think the more that I watch and observe, it's less Quinn Ewers just checking down, going for the safe play, more Sark scheming it up, lulling the defense to sleep to hit the big play later on in the game. Keep going. It's really that time to let Ewers be a backup. I think we got to put all that talk to bed. Quinn Ewers is the starter all the way. Arch is clearly the guy next year. They're going to have packages for him. I love what they did with Arch Manning. Just as a change of pace, they did the read option really well with him tonight. I think you mix in some RPO. You've shown teams read option. Now you show teams a couple more wrinkles with Arch. Don't have Arch just come in and be a read option guy. We've seen him throw the football. We know he can throw the football really well. It just would not shock me if Arch ends up throwing the ball a little bit when he comes in for some of these package deals, for some of these package plays that Sark clearly has schemed up for him. Let me keep on going. Oh, Josh, I'm so glad that you commented. Thank you so much. One of those, Mr. Technical, why do you say we? Come on now. Come on now. That's what you want to argue tonight? Why am I saying we when I refer to the Texas Longhorns? Wowza. All right. You can be that guy. I'll kindly move on to the next comment. Appreciate you, though. We go. I was hoping you'd answer my question. What's the question? If you want to actually answer or ask a real question, go ahead. I'll be more than happy to get to it. Put it in the comments. I'll get to it. I'll check YouTube real quick. We'll get all the comments here. Tristan, appreciate you tuning in, bud. I don't know if you're still hanging out, but thank you. I know I haven't been checking the YouTube comments a ton, a lot of TikTok, but I'll try and scroll through, make sure I didn't miss anything. Sonic Gamer, if you're still tuning in, appreciate you. Thank you so much. Vic G, don't like the chances with Ewers. I think that we got to get over Quinn a little bit here. We got to get over the Ewers hate. He's 19-3 as a Texas Longhorns quarterback. He's in a really good class of Texas quarterbacks. Look, do I think he's the best Texas Longhorns quarterback ever? No. Do I think he does just enough to win? Does he put us in good position to win? Yeah, I do. I was a fan of them going to Arch in the offseason, parting ways with Quinn. And I just think it's because Arch has so much talent. It's not because I thought Quinn sucked, but I've been proven wrong. Quinn Ewers is what this team needs. I think Arch coming in as a change of pace guy is going to be great. And keep going here. I'm convinced that the only team can beat Texas is Texas. William, very well said. I do think that's true. The only team that can beat Texas is Texas. Like, they're just going to beat themselves. It's what they did in the Georgia game. I think if Texas loses this weekend, it's going to be for the same reasons. Stupid mistakes, turning the ball over, and losing because of shooting yourself in the foot, maybe being undisciplined with penalties. I think that Texas is a shoulder above a lot of teams in college football right now. I think Texas is the best team in college football right now, regardless of the Georgia loss. Tristan, I can't say I was ever getting worried, but I will say I was just shaking my head at the fact that this wasn't a 31-0 game. We said earlier in the live, this should have been a 31-38-0 ball game, blowout, not even close. Aggies fans leaving in the fourth quarter. So the Longhorns shooting themselves in the foot with the turnovers. I was never worried about a loss. Even if A&M would have punched it in and made it 17-14, I had confidence in the defense that they were going to close out the game if the offense didn't close it out themselves. So I can't say I was ever worried, but I was disappointed that this was not more of a lopsided victory score-wise. All right, let me keep going here. Let's see. Am I worried about Ewers? No, not really worried about Ewers at all. Lone Star Longhorn hook him, by the way. Not worried about Ewers. Like the high ankle sprain, that worried me. Tonight, there were fluky turnovers. Does anybody disagree with that? I mean, tonight's turnovers by Quinn, I thought were fluky. You've got the interception off the tip ball. I think that that's anytime almost a ball gets tipped. I don't know if that's necessarily on the quarterback. It can be the arm slot, the arm angle, not throwing the ball, not putting enough touch on it, whatever you want to call it. I tend to go with tip balls are a little bit fluky. And then the fumble, Quinn's not a runner by trade. He's an athletic guy. It's a great play by the Aggie defender. I think it's just a better play by the Aggie defender coming from behind. I really don't put the turnovers tonight as just terrible Quinn Ewers turnovers. I thought they were a little fluky. I really didn't think Quinn played that bad tonight. Going to be a hell of a rematch for the SEC title. Officially, Caleb, appreciate the comment. Couldn't agree more. I really do think that it is going to be a great matchup. Again, not super drama-filled. I think both teams probably make it into the playoff. I don't think they're going to hold a loss against Georgia. Texas, 2 losses is not going to get left out of the playoff. They're not going to hold a loss in the SEC championship against Texas. So not the most dramatic game. There's going to be more drama in other games. But in terms of just excellent juggernaut, big brand football, it's going to be an incredible game between the Texas Longhorns and the Georgia Bulldogs. Am I worried about the strength of schedule? No. I think there's been so many upsets this year that I don't think that the committee is really going to be looking at the Texas strength of schedule. I think they're going to be saying Texas made it to an SEC championship game with 1 loss. They lost to Georgia twice. And I think that they're going to be in over a lot of other teams with 2 losses. I don't think there's a lot of shame in losing to Georgia twice. I really don't. I don't think that there's other teams with a lot of better resumes. It doesn't look great losing to Georgia twice, but it's not bad enough to not make the playoff. Let me keep going. What do I think of the Gators next year? Gators actually surprised me down the stretch. I think the Gators are going to need to get some players in the transfer portal to take it to the next level. And that's the beauty of college football these days. I was really impressed with what the Gators did after the Texas game. Like, Texas manhandled Florida. Then Florida went on and actually played some pretty solid games after that. We'll see what happens. If Georgia wins, will UT still be in the top 4? No. I don't think UT will be top 4 with a loss, but you will see them still in the playoff. They will be in the playoff regardless of a loss. I can't see the committee any stretch of the imagination putting in another 2-loss team over Texas, making it to the SEC championship game, losing to a very, very well-respected Georgia team. Josh wore that same shirt today. Yes, sir. Love this shirt. Love this shirt. Look, pretty much I found out as I was going through my drawers today, pretty much everything is Texas sports something. Longhorns, Rangers. It's pretty much all I wear. So look, I've got a ton of different stuff. I love this shirt though. You struggle with Kentucky? No. What game were you watching? Who on here thinks we struggle with Kentucky? Like, did you watch the game? Kentucky wasn't even close. Georgia struggled with Kentucky. We didn't struggle with Kentucky. Baseball is going to be so much fun this year, by the way. Like, I got to be honest, I will always follow the box score for Texas Longhorns baseball. I'm going to be watching a lot more Texas baseball this year. SEC baseball does not play. Like, it does not play. I am very excited about the college baseball season ahead with Texas and the SEC. It's a lot of fun. Arkansas, A&M, OU. I mean, look, there are obviously better teams than some of the teams that I mentioned. I don't know if I would consider OU a baseball juggernaut, but look, A&M and obviously Arkansas, two of the best baseball programs in the country. And of course, you got to love the fact that Texas steals the A&M coach. I love that. Even better for the rivalry. Am I right? All right. UT, baby. Ishmael, appreciate the comment. Thank you. Hook 'em. What Texas has accomplished in the SEC first year, big win. Again, don't let anybody tell you differently. We heard nothing but yapping from rivalry teams this year about how hard the SEC was. It's a gauntlet every week. Right? Texas is going to be at the bottom. Right? Texas is going to have a tough time in the SEC. Whatever. We lost one game to Georgia, and we ran the table otherwise. So, look, considering what they thought we were going to do at the beginning of the season, I really don't think by any means that you can say that this year is anything less than a huge smashing success. Keep going. Texas O-line can't afford to struggle against Georgia. Yeah, I think that is going to be the matchup. I said earlier in the show, you've got to think that the Texas O-line is going to want to avenge their poor play against Georgia in Austin. The Georgia D-line punked Texas on the line. Punked them. And it's a big reason why Georgia won. I got to think that O-line is going to come out with a ferocious energy, ready to prove some people wrong, ready to win that rematch. Keep going. UGA fan here. It's hard to beat a program twice. It'll be good. Danny, totally agree. That is what I've been saying. I think this game's a toss-up. I think it's a pick-em. It's really tough to beat a team twice in 1 year. You got to think that the Horns have that, wanting to, the rematch factor, wanting to avenge the loss. I got to think that it's going to be a really tight game. I think that Texas probably pulls away late. That is my prediction. I haven't come up with the score prediction quite yet, but I'll drop it before the show ends. Keep going here. Hook 'em. Appreciate the comments. Thank you. Let me keep going here. How do I think we do Saturday? Again, Texas wins. Close game, but Horns pull away late. I'm going to go with 30-24 Texas. And look, I might be a little bit generous with that 24. I could see 30-21. I could see two scores for Texas late, maybe a late field goal or a touchdown to push it to 2 scores. I can't see the defense giving up more than 24. I really can't. I think you take away the Texas turnovers against Georgia. The offense of Georgia did not look that good against Texas. The run game was there. Carson Beck looked awful. I don't think Bulldogs put up any more than 24. My prediction is 30. I'm going to go 30-21 Texas. Book it. Keep going here. Took my UT friends to UM and they reciprocated. It was a great trip. Good to hear. Appreciate that, Eddie. Thanks for the comment. Go Dogs. We'll see what happens on Saturday. We will see what happens on Saturday. Shoot. Georgia going to hang 100? Doubt it. Nah. Basically a home game for Georgia. I do agree with that comment. Totally agree with that comment. We're going to wrap things up here, y'all. We pretty much have gone through the Georgia preview. Final score prediction for me, 30-21. 30-21. Texas gets the win. 30-24 is my most generous score prediction for Georgia. I don't think that the Texas defense has given up any more than 24. We'll see what happens. As a Georgia fan, definitely hard to beat the same team twice. No doubt, it is. Doesn't mean it can't happen. Doesn't mean it can't happen. Will I be shocked like next week when I do this show if Texas loses? Will I be shocked? No, I won't be shocked. Georgia's a really good team. I will definitely be glass half full, though. We will be playing in the playoff regardless of a win or loss. So it's glass half full for Texas, even with the loss. I do think Texas gets the win, but no, I'm not going to be shocked if they drop the game to Georgia. Georgia's a tough program, really well coached, and I think that they are going to be playing really, really hard next week against Texas, trying to leave no doubt in the committee's mind. You have that third loss on your resume. Now it gets dicey. I still think even with the loss, Georgia probably gets in, but it gets dicier. It just does. Keep going here. Hook 'em horns. As a Texas fan, Georgia defense has some game records. Yeah, they do. No doubt. They do. I think the Texas defense is better than the Georgia defense. I think it's going to come down to how about put it to you this way? Which quarterback is better? Which quarterback is better? I think the Texas defense is a variable that you don't have to worry about. I think it's going to come down to quarterback play. Is Ewers going to take care of the ball and play well? Is Carson Beck going to take care of the ball and play well? I think whoever gets the better performance from the quarterback probably wins this game. I think Texas defense is going to be there showing up. Doesn't matter if Georgia has more fans. I think the defense is there to play. It is going to do really, really well regardless, but I think that the variable is Quinn Ewers. I think Quinn Ewers, if he plays well, Texas is going to win. I can't see a scenario where Quinn has 2 or 3 touchdowns, no turnovers, and Texas loses. If Quinn has an interception or 2 and a fumble, Texas probably going to lose the football game. So that is my analysis. Who's going to get the better quarterback play? Keep going. We got to get Ewers out and start Arch. Can't see it happening. I do think the thing I love from Ewers, right? And you've got to love it. Ewers had some moments in this game where he could have crumbled and he didn't. He didn't look at all like he was off his game at any point. He looked very calm, even keel. I love that mentality. I don't know if you get that from Arch. I'm not so sure. Arch runs into some trouble in the game, throws an interception, gets hit, fumbles. I don't really know if Arch is going to be able to handle adversity the same way Quinn can. But I don't think that's really a debate. I do think that Arch is going to be a guy that they should utilize in certain packages. They did it tonight with the read option, mix in some RPO against Georgia. I do think Arch needs to be utilized. I don't think he needs to start by any means. I think Quinn is your guy. Mix Arch in as a change of pace, as a read option threat, as an RPO threat. But Quinn Ewers is the starter. No doubt. We keep going here. Appreciate all y'all. Thank you so much for tuning in tonight. I am going to wrap this one up. We've been going an hour and 34 minutes, taking all of your comments and questions for the most part. Appreciate all y'all tuning in tonight. Thank you so much for all the comments, the likes, all the follows. Got a ton of people following the channel. If you're not following the channel yet, you're not subscribed to the account, would really appreciate you hit that follow or subscribe button. It would mean a lot to me. Stay up to date with all of our latest and greatest content here at Right on Rangers. Sorry, long night, long show. And get notified every time we go live, right? We could do this every weekend. We'll be here next week after the SEC championship. We also do some Texas Rangers shows every Wednesday. We do a little Texas Rangers off-season show. We also go live after every Cowboys game as well. Looking forward to getting back on track with all of those other teams later on this week. We hope you'll come and join us. But next week, SEC championship. That's the big one. We're looking forward to it. Appreciate all y'all. And as I always say to end every show, God bless and hook 'em.